20th February, 9:23 a.m. The Old Bailey Defendant's Antechamber. Well, I never expected this. Who'd have thought we'd come back here again so soon? We're on a study tour of Great Britain with the intention of learning the country's legal practices. In order to research the latest court procedures here, we need as much court experience as possible. Well, yes, I suppose that's true. But for the person in the dock, it may as well be his or her one and only time in court. It could be life-changing. In which case, treating it as a research may seem a little crass. Oh, when you put it like that, you're quite right. Good morning. Mr. Natsume, good morning. Oh dear, are you alright? Your eyes are terribly bloodshot. There are real cases of the worm, as they say here in Britain. Yes, I've heard that expression. In reality, I don't want to catch a worm. So I tried desperately not to wake up early, but I was so worried I couldn't catch a wink. And now I'm absolutely exhausted as a result. Do all literary people take things so literally? Thank you for putting your faith in us today, Mr. Natsume. I wish I had 9 lives. My whole future hangs in the balance. I'm too terrified to tremble. Really, because I can feel tremors on the floor. Can't do this. I can't take this. Hello. Welcome to Mr. Naruto, Esquire. Yes? I caught a glimpse of the public gallery as I walked by the courtroom. It was the opening night of the opera. There were so many people. I had no idea my case was such a notorious affair here in London. Oh, neither did I. Do you know why that might be, Mr. Sasato? I'm sorry, Mr. Naruto. I have no idea. Probably because it is a Japanese man accused of committing this act against a British person, and also because the prosecutor is the Reaper, the Grim Reaper himself. Von Zeeks. The all-known look in your face is coincidence then, is it? Don't hide the truth from me. It's because of the Reaper, isn't it? Lord Von Zeeks. Is that right, Mr. Sato? I purchased as many different newspapers as I could to find this morning, and yes, Lord Von Zeeks is on the front page of every one. I knew it. Sometime after the prosecutor was dubbed the Reaper of the Bailey, he stopped appearing in the court, it seems. It's been several years now, in fact, until the day before yesterday. Yes, Inspector Gregson told us something similar, didn't he? Around 2 days ago marked Lord Von Zeeks' return to the courtroom after a very long hiatus. Trial of Magnus McGilded. What a harrowing experience that was. I believe that appearance made even greater waves here in the capital than today's, but we wouldn't have realized, of course, having only just arrived in the country. Why we were back in the Bay so soon, for what appears to be a mundane murder. That's the question the papers are asking, and they're also speculating the various answers. Mundane is the most significant saga of the century to some of us. Oh dear, I mean no offense, Mr. Natsume, but that is how the papers are describing it. Well, lest we all forget the fact that it could spark an international incident. Obviously, the reappearance of this infamous prosecutor has caught people's attention. There's another blank similarity with the trial 2 days ago. Yes, I agree. Welcome to Mr. Naruto, Esquire. It's you. Me? Well, I suppose that's true. Both times it is you who stands against his legendary prosecutor. It can only mean that you're friends with the Reaper. Please, I don't rub shoulders with Deathbringers. I'm afraid that there's really only one other explanation. It won't be another example, Mr. Naruto, of your uncommon bad luck. Thanks for that. Oh, this is just my luck. Why must I be represented by a man with such frail fortune? Or the least lucky lawyer alive. Well, let's not forget, it was you, Mr. Natsume, who asked me to represent you. And it's true that I'm just a student, who's done with little in the way of experience, or skills, or luck. But I promise you this, I will fight your corner until the bitter end, and I will believe in you, Mr. Natsume. Oh, benevolent welcomes to it, Mr. Naruto, Esquire. God, please, just call him Mr. Naruto. We're not alone here you're not alone here with us, Mr. Natsume. Whatever happens, you'll always be on your side. Oh, benevolent non-locum assistant Miss Mikoto Esquires. What the fuck? I am in your debt forever. I should never forget this great kindness for as long as I live. Mr. Natsumi, counsel for the defense. Court session is about to begin. Kindly make your way into the courtroom at once. It is time! I think, Mr. Natsumi, it's time. Let's go. My second appearance in British court. My second trial against the Reaper. Hope you're watching over me, Kazuma. Because this time, I won't let my faith wither. I'll believe in my client to the last. Just like you believed in me, I believe I can do this now. I'm ready for this fight. Thank you, counsels. I see both sides are in fine fettle. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, are you ready to carry out your duties here in the court as impartial members of the public? What the fuck is this guy doing here? You never know when you might down in your luck, but I believe in fair play for everyone. What the fuck is Bruce Fairplay doing here? I must warn you, I'm rather more ruthless than I appear. Oh well, not me. What you see is what you get. I'm a peace loving fellow. Why is she our jury member? Come on, what are you waiting for? No doubt he did it, anyway. Sorry, didn't quite catch that. Very well, let's proceed. Your opening statement, if you please, Lord Von Zeeks. Very recently, Great Britain signed an alliance with the rising power in the Far East. He is in the dock today, a student from the same land, a certain Mr. Suseki Natsume. And while our country has extended this foreign student the warmest of welcomes, regrettably, the kindness has not been returned. In fact, this student has been accused of the most sinister act. Of plunging a knife into the back of an innocent woman who was doing nothing but walking down the street. A knife crime, I tell you, from bitter experience, those are the worst. Bloody oath they are. What the fuck is Bruce Fairplay doing here? In the fucking jury stand. Look at his shallow complexion and short stature, he's one of the most dreadful Japanese. Wow, that's pretty racist. Come on, let's get this over with. With me now. I want 1, 2, 3. Sorry, didn't quite catch that. Pray, forgive the courtesy of smashing my hollow chalice here in the great chamber. Allow me to call the first witness to the stand. Very well. Bailiff, lead the inspector in, please. Your name and occupation, please. Yes, sir. Tobias Gregson, Detective Inspector at Scotland Yard. Would you please summarize the events of the case for the court, Inspector? Victim thought to be a young woman in her 20s by the name of Olive Green. Beg your pardon, Inspector. Thought to be. Yes, having been stabbed in the back by her attacker's knife, the victim fell unconscious. That was 3 years ago now. She's been comatose ever since. You don't even know who she is for sure? Comatose. I see. Her life is not in danger? Fortunately for the Eastern student, the charge will not be murder. Pray, elaborate on the details, Inspector. Sir, if I could ask everyone to look at this street map. As I mentioned, the incident took place 3 years ago at around 5 in the afternoon. Having pavement running alongside Briar Road, a wide thoroughfare for horse-drawn vehicles. It had not long since stopped snowing as the victim, Miss Green, was walking down the street. Out of the blue, she was approached from behind by the accused and stabbed in the back. Luckily, the young lady's life was spared, and she's currently being treated in one of the city's hospitals. Being unconscious as she is, been unable to take a statement from her, of course. This is a case file with everything we know about the victim so far. Thank you, Inspector. The court will accept the documents as evidence, if you please. What other weapon that was used? Have this here. It was removed from the victim's back. Ouch, that big thing is starting to make me scared to walk down the street now. If it had been like that, almost anybody would have been able to stab the poor woman. Even the strag-looking Soseki, I suppose. A common or garden jackknife, I would say. Rather nondescript. Thank you, Inspector. The court accepts the blade as evidence. Now then, what do we know of the motive? Money or valuables, I presume? Well, I can tell by looking at the woman's possessions, it seems like she's a poor student herself. Hard to imagine she would have had anything much worth pinching, my lord. I see. Well, in that case, we're looking at some deep-seated resentment toward the victim? I'm afraid I couldn't say. Apart from visiting second-hand bookshops, the defendant, Mr. Nasume, doesn't appear to get out much of. At the moment in time, we haven't been able to establish any sort of connection between him and the victim.
Yes!
If theft and grievance had been ruled out as a motive, what reason could Mr. Nasume possibly have had to send for the young woman? Yet you arrested the man in spite of that. In a totally unjustified and heavy-handed way.
Objection!
Oh my god, he threw the whole bottle this time! What are the people in the gallery, my man? Pray forgive the discourtesy of flinging a freshly uncorked bottle into the public gallery. But your words have soured its hallowed bouquet. Whereas you, my learned friend, who is being heavy-handed over here. Scotland Yard does not arrest people without good cause. That should be beyond question. Inspector Gregson, the prosecution calls for your formal testimony. Explain to the court precisely why the constabulary came to arrest the Nipponese student. Yes, sir. Bourbon Books, a second-hand bookshop he rarely patrons. So you say.
Objection!
Yeah, I could just stop you there, Inspector Gregson. What is it, Sunshine? I'm a businessman, you know. This is a receipt that we found in Mr. Natsume's room. It was issued on the day of the incident and details that purchase of 3 second-hand books. And you found that in the accused's room, did you? Yes, but the point is not where the receipt was found, but the name of the shop printed on it. Go on. This receipt was issued from a bookshop called Your Books. Your Books, I presume. Yes, my lord. So Mr. Natsume did indeed purchase a number of books at a second-hand bookshop that day. However, the bookshop in question was not Bourbon Books. Inspector, do you know of this other bookshop? Yes, sir. Bourbon Books is another second-hand bookshop not far from Bourbon Books. It's just that, well, it's a small place. I didn't think the accused would have known about it.
Objection!
In fact, that is the bookshop which the defendant visited on the day in question. This is the receipt that proves it.
Objection!
Yes, and what difference it makes? Whatever the main purpose of this musty tomes, it makes no difference in the final analysis.
Objection!
I disagree. I mean, after all, the street map here might help. Oh, yes, thank you. Now look at this, please. Shouldn't have been returned from Bourbon Books. Yes, he would certainly have passed the place where Miss Green was attacked. However, take it into account the fact that he was actually at another bookshop, Your Books. You may well turn that you couldn't have passed that location at all. Would that be true? Not mine, rather depends on where this other bookshop is, but I declare it may be a possibility. Alright, Mr. Lawyer, sir. What you just said? Absolutely, you absolutely could be right. I mean, didn't Natsume testify himself that he did pass her, though? I don't know about this argument, Naruto. Dr. Gregson was the Your Books establishment. Well, obviously we looked into that. Turns out that Your Books It's here on the corner of Meerstrom Street going east. There you have it, as you can clearly see. Oh. Another Japanese friend is obviously trained to be a clown, the way he regales us with such witticism. To your future in the circus. Put the glass down, or I'll put it down for you. I didn't think I needed to spell it out, but here we go. Teaser's coming home from your books instead of boardroom books. So now he's still past the place where the victim was stabbed. Yes, thank you, Inspector. Now I want to reiterate for my learned, if somewhat slow, Nipponese friend. Wherever the man purchased his musty tomes, it makes no difference in the final analysis. Careful, Metal. Just you try. What did I say? I've had enough of this now. Beg your pardon? I'm terribly sorry, but would you mind repeating that? Strong, though. We mustn't give up. What do we do mean? Association is correct. Members of the jury may very well decide that Mr. Asumi is guilty. Perhaps it's right. We must think. We must consider the assertions just put forward by the prosecution very, very carefully. So he must pass application. Do I raise the objection? Probably do, right? Prosecution. It's fundamentally flawed. Clean yourself, counsel. Yes, my lord. See you, Mr. Me on this left map. Return to his lodgings. So they could have followed the route suggested by the prosecution. Remember, as an elixir will not take between the two places. Then use these streets. What happens? He arrives back at his lodgings without passing the location where the victim was attacked.
Objection!
And back to the clown is a fool's errand, of course. However, I can fail to point out, that route is what is commonly referred to as the long way round. On a cold winter's night, why would anyone choose to take a longer route home? The answer is extremely simple. He wouldn't. In other words, the accused took the obvious route back to his lodgings and his obvious pursuit of the crime. Also, you must ask the man himself and ask Mr. Asumi which route he took back home. I've already informed the court of the accused's response to such questioning. He would say, he has no recollection. Ha. That's right. As I said, Bloke seems to spend his time outside wandering aimlessly from A to B. Day has no exception. You see, he says he doesn't remember where he was or which route he took home. I thank you, my learned friend, such that we do not waste any more time with the court's time by wandering aimlessly around this subject. Pray, what say you, disciple jurors? Even if that is the case, the defense still.
Guilty!
Guilty.
Guilty! Guilty! Guilty!
Did I fuck up?
Guilty!
I fucked up, didn't I? Should I not raise an objection there? Fuck. Shit. No, not yet. Submission examination? I said again in the trial. My set of defense written in acquitted British law. It should have been buried long ago. Call it an antique if you will. But it's the defense prerogative to carry out the summation examination if it so chooses. Very well, counsel. In accordance with the letter of the law, we shall proceed with the summation examination. Are members of the jury ready, Mr. Foreman? Of course you're ready. Not familiar with the Nepalese whippersnapper and his uncle's refusal to throw it in his alley. Very well then. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will each explain on which grounds you have determined the defendant to be guilty. You say that little Nepalese already admitted himself, didn't he? She said that the glass for his eyes, why could only have been the victim. The man wouldn't have gone around the houses on his way back from the bookshop that winter. So the woman was attacked from behind, was she? How dreadful. I don't care. Can't we just wrap this up now? There's not work to be doing. Your books, yes. Nice shop, that. But 4-line books? No, not worth a visit. The fuck? With only minor exceptions, the reasons for finding the defendant guilty are all too clear. When stabbing occurred, only 2 people had the scene were the victim and the accused. The accused himself meant to see the victim in her green overcoat, sink to the ground before his eyes. Furthermore, we've heard from the inspector that the defendant lived at the scene. I would have ample grounds to convict this man already. Oh dear. And the judge appears to convince Mr. Nasume's guilt now. Why do you have to run away like that? How are you supposed to believe in some phantom terror that nobody could see? This is impossible. How could I possibly make a case for the defense? Mr. Nardo, this is no time for grumbling. Do you want to force the trial to continue? Yes, I know. I have to turn the tide. We must make the jurors change their minds. Well, 4 of them at least. Exactly. You have no choice but to forge onwards. You have the floor, counsel. Begin your summation examination. Yes, my lord. Just need to keep this trial going somehow, whatever it takes. Come on, Ryunosuke. You can do it.
Objection!
So it is clear to show a flaw in the juror's reasoning. A flaw? What are you talking about, counsel? Well, juror number 2? Juror number 6? Whatever do you mean, sir? I think perhaps the old man didn't hear you. Unbelievable. It's not like I was loud or anything. There's at least one fact I wish we can be sure. The bookshop receipt found in the defendant's room clearly indicates that on the day of the attack, he had been to your books. There's a number of second-hand titles. He then returned home on foot. But the man says he has no recollection during the journey.
Objection!
Crucially, we know precisely where the old man in the green overcoat fell. Calabash Road. Therefore, if the person who Mr. Natsume saw collapsing in front of him was the factor number 6, means the defendant must have taken the long route back to his lodgings. If that's true, then clearly, the crime scene on Briarish Road, where the room was sad, was on his way home. If he hadn't so daft to be roaming about that time, we'd have boxed this off hours ago. Yeah, what were you thinking? We're such a befuddling coat. It's trying to keep up with the latest styles and wear the beautiful green overcoat, is it? My lord, I do hope it won't cause any inconvenience, but there's a change of leaning, I presume. I do declare that I would. I should like to call for a verdict of not guilty. Thank you. And I would too. What? Is it a crime to change your mind? Is it? Well, shit, this old man is quite bipolar. Oh, well, Miss Naruto, that was wonderful. Well, we managed to change a couple of minds at least, to strengthen our position somewhat. Yes, and it will prompt other members of the jury to reconsider the sentence as well. They'll be asking themselves if their current leanings are really right or not. Now, if only. Just identify one more clue or discrepancy that would make them stop down Mr. Natsume. And they'll be able to tip the balance completely. Yes, that's exactly what we're about to do. Zeke is looking to bring this trial to an early conclusion. That's what we have to prevent. However, it means that we have to have at our disposal. Yes, my lord. Ah. Hold up. If he was digging the road there, then the road would be hard to walk through. So, if I had to guess, you'd walk this way as to avoid the construction that's happening.
Hold it!
I did not mean to press. Why do I keep pressing press? Okay, is there any way I can make this faster? God. While it's happening, I'm gonna trouble you, sir. To mark on this street map the exact location of the works you were carrying out. Give here then. Let me have a look. Ah, would you look at that? My deductions were correct. Fine, what time did you finish your work? Well, we started in the morning, and we can't have finished before gone 6, I say. No, it's long past dark for sure.
Objection!
These statements are clearly at odds with one another. Odds counsel, explain yourself. Me, sir? What do you mean?
Yeah.
I'm going. Take a moment to consider the implications of what's been said on our map of the local area. On the day in question, Mr. Natsume visited this bookshop with a person number of secondhand books. On the same day, now there are mere works being carried out on Meerschaum Street, making it plausible. Impassable, I mean. Actually, my fucking throat is dying. Okay, which means that the defense wrote home could not have been taken along Meerschaum Street and down Bryan Road. Yes, of course. What do you think, sir? Well, yes, you can't argue with that, really, can you? You must have had a good 2 yards or more of the pavement up. Every gentleman and gentlewoman that came along had to turn back and go the other way. So, our conclusion is this. The defendant must have taken the longer route back to his lodgings. Yes, I suppose he must have. I suppose that must be right, eh? Juror number 3, you said the following. The man wouldn't have gone around the houses on his way back from the bookshop. But, we see now that he had no choice. My lord, Mr. Judge, sir, if I may. Yes? I don't think, in all conscience, I can say the man's guilty now. Yes, I'd like to see this trial continue, so we can get to the bottom of what really happened. How about you, sir? Who, me? Well, alright then. There's a hole in the prosecution's argument. It should be filled in, that's what I say. Well, last amazing examination has concluded with a rather large shift in opinion. Eyes 2, the nose 4. So that means it's not for guilty. Which means that we no longer have a consensus among the members of the jury. Trial will continue.
Objection!
Could it seem churlish of me to drink from my hallowed chalice a moment after raising an objection? Only to question in disgust? Pray, forgive the discourtesy. Rowan Zeeks? It seems I must retract my earlier remark. What do you mean? I mistakenly credited these jurors with intelligence by describing them as insightful. Yet we have just witnessed them falling for a cheap trick performed by an Eastern entertainer.
Objection!
I'm tricked anyway. Everything I said is the truth. Indeed. Stalwart jury number 5 was undoubtedly repairing the road, as he claims. I believe you said it was a good 2 yards of the pavement, which was exactly, sir. That's right. It took me the whole day, and they paid me, let me see, 2 pence for it. Now, what are you please trying to tell me? Do you have any notion of the distance that 2 yards represents? Oh, well, I'm honest, I don't have a clue, no. 2 yards is a little less than 2 meters. Less than 2 meters? That's not much at all. In other words, the distance readily vaulted by anyone of moderate vigor. Would you not agree, my stalwart friend? Me? I can't say you're wrong, no. What? Did you perchance erect a sign to prevent pedestrians from passing the site of your work? I wouldn't do it. What a waste of time. No coaches would have had a hope of passing anyway. We just turned any gentlefolk back when they came. They just jump right over us all the time. He was no gentleman, as far as I can see. I have little doubt, however, that he could spring over a 2-yard trench in these meanderings around town. And contrivable truth is, the books just purchased by the accused were found at the scene. There can only be no doubt that his way back at lodgings, Mr. Natsumi, will walk down Briar Road. And, old man, you say that around 5 o'clock on the day in question, you slipped and fell on the Calabash Road. Pray, was there any suspicious looking Nipponese behind you at the time? Oh, I can't say I remember. You don't remember? How about a wager, my learned friend? You say it was an old man that the accused saw. Well, I would lay 1,000 to 1 against you being able to prove it. Well, Zeke, explain yourself. My lord? If you have such a trenchant argument up your sleeve, why in the world did you not proffer it during the summative examination? Because he can't. By legal reasons, he can't. I want to give this young foreign student the sightseeing experience he had no doubt came for. I want him to see for himself how the opinion of the jury is so readily swayed. The hospitality has its limits. They have been reached, I feel. Took up the gate again. So, my learned friend, today's sightseeing tour of London is now over. What? What are you talking about? My lord, the prosecution requests permission to call its next witness to the stand. Granted. Bailiff, bring forth the witnesses. Its next witnesses? It's Leonardo, do you not remember? We've been told on several occasions that there are eyewitnesses to the incident. Yes, I remember. One of them being Scotland Yard policeman, no less. I'm afraid that's likely to be the prosecution's next witness. Alright, no matter who Von Zeeks brings up to stand as witness, no matter what they say, I believe in Soseki. I know he's innocent. And I'll keep believing to the very end, until this battle is over. This is an odd pairing. Witnesses, please state your name and occupation for the court. Constable Raleigh Beat, sir. Nothing to report on the street, sir. And I'm Mrs. Beat. Patricia's my name. I'm proud to say I'm this young talent hero's wife. What's the story here? Well, in truth, we've not been married long. In fact, we celebrated our first anniversary only the other day. No, it was your husband I was asking about. He seems tired. Huh? They swapped the names. It was Pat and Rolla? Oh, okay. That's interesting trivia then. Because, I mean, I don't know what they did with the English translation or localization of this game. I mean, I don't think it makes too much of a difference. But maybe it has something. Maybe it has something that's like similar to Herlock Sholmes' case, and they had to change his name. I mean, even if it's like a slight change, maybe some reason like that. I don't know. Capcom is weird. Oh really? I'm sure I've heard that before, actually. Indeed, apart from rare days off, our gallant officers travel some 20 miles a day. Yes, we heard this. They patrol boarding houses, pubs, and collect taxes, survey the streets, check that meters are reading true. They're responsible for keeping the streets clean and lighting and extinguishing our streetlights. There are a number of items on that list that don't sound much like policing. Japanese script is exactly the same, including Sherlock Holmes and Watson, and so on. Steam version with the JP text. Yeah, the JP text makes sense because I think it's just there is some copyright issues when it comes to English. In Japanese, I think it should be fine to use Sherlock's name and Watson's name, but in English, I think that may raise some legal issues, if I remember correctly. And that is one of the reasons that this game took so long to get localized. There are a number of items on this that don't sound much like policing duties at all. I wouldn't just be falling asleep on my feet, I'd have collapsed long ago. Goes without saying that the policeman's primary duty is the apprehension of criminals. Even when he's off duty, a constable is expected to investigate and resolve any crimes on his beat. But London Bobby is a man of honor. He's fucking basically incapacitated. And a man of slumber. On the day in question, this man and his wife were walking down Briar Road in the opposite direction. They witnessed an incident as it occurred. Is that not correct, Mr. and Mrs. Beat? That's right, sir. You live in the countries, you can buy the Steam version that have the Japanese text package, same as 3DS script, outside some minor changes, which do the exclusives like the 3D stuff. That makes sense. Sadly, I live in the US of A, so I don't have the English version. And I can't read Japanese anyway, so it's very inconvenient for me. Constable Rolly beats nothing. Okay, this man needs some coffee or something to keep him up. Very good. I have to hear your formal testimonies now, please. You will tell the court exactly what you saw on the afternoon of the incident. Yes, sir. And he falls back to sleep. Yep. What's with his hat, by the way? I think it's just probably wear and tear from overwork, I suppose. It was our wedding anniversary and Raleigh was taking me out for a meal. There was no time to change after work. Anyway, two silhouettes appeared out of the fog on the pavement in front of us. All of a sudden, one of them just collapsed on the floor, and the other scattered something before running off. Ran straight over, of course, and then went for help at a nearby police box. It was definitely the Japanese man in the dock. All and I both saw him as clear as day. I highly doubt that, but we'll have to see. Well, this is extremely compelling testimony, I must say. Oh dear, this is policeman and his wife are claiming to have positively identified Mr. Natsume at the scene. If their testimony is true, alternative course of events that you established in the summation examination will be quashed. That's a word. It's def nihil, in fact, because the alternative was never viable in the first place. What an unfortunate bechancing and on your wedding anniversary too. Oh, I know, but I still managed to go out for the evening with my man. I thank the Lord for that. I don't know how this relationship is going to be stable. This man's going to overwork. Gosh, the life of London Bobby sounds very hard indeed. And especially marrying one too. That seems a bit rough. Indeed, however, this cross-examination will be over in minutes. You may as well have time to rest this afternoon. What do you mean by that? My learned friend, the witnesses saw the faces of the man fleeing the scene. They are testifying under oath that is, without a doubt, the accused Mr. Soseki Natsume. and one of the witnesses is a policeman, no less. So you appreciate the gravity of the situation, I'm sure. Except that the man's so tired, his wife has to do all this talking. Enough preamble. Counsel for the defense. Commence the cross-examination, please. Alright, I've been struggling the past few cross-examinations. I might be able to pull this one through. First step, always press everything.
Hold it!
No time to change after work, you say. Are you also a member of the police, Mrs. Brett or Mrs. B? Oh no, sadly not. It's a job for strapping young men only. The old men, children, and elderly can't even apply. Well, I think you can probably see why children and elderly can't do the job, can't you? I think Raleigh looks ever so handsome in his uniform. Suits you down to the ground, doesn't it, darling? I mean, his hat could use some work, I do suppose. That is a very, I guess, fine way to pull at his scarf. Yeah, I just finished my beat. Pat and I were heading down to the station. I was actually planning on getting changed there. He's talking in his sleep? This is creepy. Alright, I much prefer you in uniform. Sometimes I don't recognize you when I see you in plain clothes. That exactly does not seem healthy at all. Kindly here's to the point. You were going for a meal after you had finished your beat for the day, correct? That's right, sir. Yes, although I was fit and dropped, to be honest, I had to spend the whole day on my feet. But policing is my life, sir. As long as I'm proud of owner of this, I'll serve my city and my queen to the end. What's that now? My warm card, sir. Proof that I'm a Lunku copper. It has the noble founding principles of the force written on it as a reminder to all us policemen of our sworn duty. Patrol the streets of London and town and uphold the peace of the common man. This man sure does salute a lot, man. I'll salute you too, but calm down. So, and for such a noble cause, I covered 20 miles every single day without fail and without grumble. Isn't there like people to swap out the job so that they can have a day off? I know that the plong of my boots is all Londoners need to hear to feel safe and secure. So fine crime doesn't appear to come into it then. But just in my own particular day, I was looking forward to celebrating my wedding anniversary. Mrs. Bed puts up with a lot being married to a bobby like me. I wanted to show my dear wife how much I care. This is quite the interesting couple. Oh, what a charming couple. Their young love is such a joy to behold. A little over the top, perhaps. And then, kindly describe what happened next. Anyways, two silhouettes appeared out of the fog pavement in front of us.
Hold it!
Two silhouettes? That's right, they were coming towards us, walking up our street in the opposite direction. A rather plump figure followed by a scrawny, thin-looking man. It does sound exactly like the victim as pictured in the print, and like Mr. Natsume. Yes, unfortunately, it does. You're certain that at the time, there was nobody else nearby. Yes, quite certain it was dark. There are streetlights on Briar Road, you see. There was nobody else around at all, isn't that right, my darling? This poor man. Oh yes, that's right. Of course, there was a light fog on the ground. The Briar Road is a dead straight and you could see fairly long way down the pavement. And then it's the street line as well. I don't see any other pedestrians. Or sleep takes a firm hold. Your answer please, Mr. B. Are you quite sure of what you've just said? Yes sir, as a copper who spends all day every day keeping watch on the street, I swear to it, sir. Not sure, as my love for Patricia is true. Are they gonna do this every time I press? God. I still maintain there was no one else around other than the victim and the attacker. It seemed like there must have been, like, that must be how it really happened. It seemed like there's nowhere to run. Well, that didn't stop Mr. Natsumi, did it? Doesn't seem all too convincingly. Thank you. I believe we have a reasonable clear idea of the situation just before the incident now. What happened in the crucial moments that followed? All of a sudden, one of them was collapsed on the floor, and the other scattered something before rolling off. Scattered something? What do you mean by that? Oh, well, I couldn't quite make out what it was at the time. But then when we got close, we realized what it was. Didn't we, darling? He's gonna pull him again. Yes, that's right. There's some old books. I see. Old books. Yes, so the culprit had dropped a number of items then. A number of them all around where the victim lay on the pavement. Indeed, as clearly pictured in this photographic print. when Ron Japanese man did that when he did the deed. Let's not forget that it remains to be established that the defendant was indeed the attacker. We saw him. It was a man in the dock without question. So, the mustache, the hunchback, cat-like eyes, the top mouth, the snub nose, everything. Any more insults you want to throw in? That's right, he looked down at the poor defenseless woman with those terrifying, intense eyes. And suddenly threw his books onto the pavement and ran away. I see. This is tough. It seems as though you're telling the truth here. You remind the court that this unambiguous testimony comes from the policeman and his wife. Now please continue. Ran straight over the course and then went for help at the nearby police box.
Hold it!
Is it your husband who went to fetch help? No, I went. And no, I went. I may not be the police officer myself, but I am the proud wife of one, after all. Isn't that right, my darling? Yes, that's right. I asked Mrs. Beat to go. I was off duty by the point, but while he's never truly off duty, of course, so I felt obliged to stay and guard the scene. Very laudable, Mr. B. Preserving the scene of the crime is a task of considerable importance. That's why I sent Patricia to see and told her where to find the right police box. Forgive my ignorance. What do you mean exactly by the right police box? There's a crime location, you see, as to who deals with it. Where the woman was stabbed wasn't actually on my beat. So I told Patricia the way to the police box where the incident fell under so she could go and report it. Ran there as quickly as I could and asked for help from the woman on duty. There's nothing more important than a young couple in love working together, you know. Thanks to your swift response, the case was quickly resolved in the actions of two model citizens. Oh please, you're making us blush. Isn't he, darling? Yes, sir. What Patricia said, sir. Let's move on, shall we? It was definitely that Japanese man in the dock rolling at both saw him clear as day.
Hold it!
But surely you wouldn't have been able to see his face by the light of the gas street lamps, would you? Oh God, she's fucking choking him. Calm down, lady. Perhaps he could. As long as have exceptional eyesight, I'll have you know. That's Cap. The light from the street lamps was more than enough. And my husband already told you that the fog was only light, didn't he? Ah, yes. And what of the fog? They're famous for it across the globe, I believe. It's an absolute menace to those of us who have to live with it, of course. Oh, it is. It is. When it's thick, you can't even see the hand at the end of your own arm. Yes, alright. I take your point. Now, could you stop shaking your husband about? Truly. The constant fog makes our eyes very sharp, you see. That's why we can tell you for sure and certain that it was the little Japanese man we saw. Can't we, darling? Yes. It was the accused and no mistake. The mustache, the hunchback, the cat-like eyes, the tout mouth, the snub nose. Unmistakable, sir. As far as the couple's testimony is concerned, there can't be any question. It's Soseki they saw running away from the scene of the crime. So that's it, is it? That's their entire testimony? What do you think, Mr. Naruto? Well, I had to admit it, but on hearing the testimony, it does seem as though Mr. and Mrs. B saw what they saw. It's Natsume running away from the scene on Briar Road that day. Yes, I feel the same. So if that's true, where does it leave us? Members of the jury are sure to call for a guilty verdict after this testimony. No, what do we do? If Cosmo were here, what are you trying to say? I think he would try to find a contradiction somewhere else within the testimony. What do you mean, somewhere else? Mr. statement about seeing Mr. Assuming is unequivocal. Calling that into question won't help. But if you could identify some other part of the testimony which appears to contradict the facts, you might be able to discredit them to make the jury doubt if the pair's memory of the day is accurate. Alright. Okay. Simply, you must focus on finding the discrepancy in the statement somewhere. If you don't, I'm afraid the trial may reach an early and unfavorable conclusion. I seem to be up against... Okay. Mr. Laura, sir, can I ask you something? Oh, yes, of course. What is it? Well, you keep asking us all these questions about everything we've told you, so... No, oh no, it's really not that at all. Place it, remember? And I know what I saw. Remember every last detail. Everything like, I don't know, what about the books the man dropped? You understand what I could? Oh! Can you now? Can you tell us every single book now? But please put your husband's fists down. If you would like to opportunity to supplement your testimony, Mrs. B. Like that appease you? Oh, thank you. That would settle things nicely. Darling. Alright. We even tell you the names of the 4 books he dropped the question. Okay. Press this, he gives us the book names, and then we can fucking present the receipt we got from Natsume. And my accused of the nearby second-hand bookshop with the name question. I went to the lease box for help. I decided to have a good look over the area for a good measure. I'm a proud policeman's wife, after all. I did it for Raleigh. And what was your husband doing at the time? Oh, he was lying face down in the snow, getting some well-deserved rest. It was ever so hard, you know? Ever so hard. Don't you, my darling? Interesting way of calling the scene of the crime. Well, Mrs. B, seeing as you regaled the cart with tales of your past recollection, would you be so kind as to count the titles of the books you observed at the scene? I'd be happy to. Now, are you all listening? It was picture, what's it? What the fuck? Huh. Sure. You don't know that, I'm quite sure. Oh my god, he brought out a gun? Monk gun. Anyone who upsets my decision will have to answer me. Don't pull the trigger, please. God. I'm on the courtroom. Terrifying, indeed. Truly terrifying. Now I found something. Just let me get over to it real quick. Said 4 books, correct? And if I remember correctly, there's only 3 books in this photo.
Objection!
So, you're saying that there were 4 books? That's right, I remember all of them. Picture... Yeah, we got that. I'm sorry, Mrs. B. But there is a fundamental flaw in that statement of yours. No, what flaw? Simply that, at the scene of the crime, there are only 3 books, not 4. Have a look at this photograph. Scene of the crime. As you can clearly see, there are only 3 books. I saw them. I know what it is. Yes, you can't fool me. Sorry. That big old lump of dead body. They're so large, her course is blocking the view of the 4th book, that's all. Let's at least try to remember that the poor woman isn't dead, even if we're insulting her size. No, I'm sorry, Mrs. B. But Mr. Natsume could not possibly have dropped the 4 books you described. Why not? Fascinating. From your absurd tone, something you can rarely substantiate with evidence, I presume. Ah, evidence. Also, you present evidence to substantiate your claim or withdraw it. Proof do you have the accused did not drop 4 books? Receipt, correct?
Take that!
Evidence right here, in the form of this bookshop receipt. This is right here, in the form of this bookshop receipt. In your books? Yes, this receipt details Mr. Natsume's purchases that day. As you can see, only 3 books are listed. Therefore, Mr. Natsume would have only dropped 3 books at the scene of the crime. Which means that your powers of observation, madame, cannot be relied upon. So it cannot be denied. And though you say it was a defendant you saw, you could be very well mistaken.
Objection!
It's plainly evident that it is your powers of objection that cannot be relied upon, I learned in Nipponi's friend. What? What cannot be denied is that these witnesses saw the accused running from the scene. That you know very well, you have no hope of disproving. So if you're striven to avert attention from that, be dint of some inconsequential discrepancies. Would that be fair? Sees right through me. Your plan is somewhat recoiled against you. What are you talking about? It's quite simple. Let me explain with the toast. To a policeman's wife, in her entirely accurate testimony in every respect. You see, the matter is not up for debate. At the scene of the Bright Road, a total of 4 books were most definitely found.
Objection!
But what about the photograph print? Only shows 3 books. Quite right, only 3 can be seen in that print. We can say, now I want to present another, one that shows the victim's hand. I don't believe it. It's the 4th book. As you will observe, the 4th book was hidden from view in the original print by the victim's torso. And then can't we just ascertain that since the... Actually, hold up, never mind, we can't. Fuck. Yes, Patricia's always right, so. Yes, I received the books purchased by the accused on the day in question. Mrs. B, tell us once again, if you please. Picture Monsieur Lecoy. Okay, meal for someone. Meal for Gabor, in fact. As well as assurance, the witness remembers the book title's fallacy, save for a few minor details. Mrs. Beat's powers of recollections can only be described as exception. Did you hear that, Raleigh? The gentleman paid me a compliment. Yes, flawless, Patricia is flawless. 2 books on the receipt. Mrs. B mentioned 4. There's nothing just surprising about that. The 4th book is shown in the photographic print. Sorry, Counsel. Does that not seem odd? Why would the 4th book be omitted from the receipt? It's not odd at all, my lord. That book owns to the victim, I guess? It was found in the victim's clutches. In other words, it belongs to the victim. I wonder, what became of the 4th book? Obviously, it wasn't overlooked by the investigation officer at the Scotland Yard. Have it here as evidence. Submit to the aforementioned photographic print in the court. Please, counsel. My pleasure, my lord. The lion's pride, you say? Prosecution rests. Looking for Dad. Seem surprised, my learned friend. But resistance until now has been in vain. Entertaining, yes, but futile. The spurious longer route to the accused lodgings that you tried to establish in your summation examination, and attempted spreading of the witness's powers of recollection in your cross-examination. Futile? I walked right into this, didn't I? You see, everything we've said is true. Isn't that right, my darling? Yes, Pat. So perhaps the ladies and gentlemen of the jury would like to consider their positions. Should the court waste any more time on this Nipponese travesty? Or is the decision you have to make all too apparent already? Yeah, heard all the witnesses and seen all the evidence. Trying to run its course. Mr. Nardo, I'm afraid we are a terribly precarious position. I know, but I'm back in the wrong way now. I could very well just make matters worse. Rinosuke, think, what do you do? I think is it always raising an objection here? This is weird not raising an objection.
Objection!
Not done yet. No, my learned friend. It's over. The last cross-examination was your final chance to establish a credible defense. You failed. That has been cast. There's no room for debate. Might be over as far as you're concerned, but I can't think of what to say. If I may, Lord Van Zeeks, seems somewhat boorish to close down the debate at this point. Your insignificant little eastern isle must be always whole indeed. For a low judicial assistant to have the audacity to intervene at the moment like this. I am, too, my shame, still a very inexperienced lawyer. So you will have to forgive me, but I consider my assistant's advice essential and her opinions invaluable. One of this land's great guiding principles is tolerance, so the court will hear you, madame. Go ahead, Mrs. Sato, please. Very well. Pray, what insight can you give us? Why have we all overlooked in the matter that you see fit to pursue further? Well, the court has been presented with evidence, but not after the last cross-examination finish. I see. And you believe that this new evidence warrants further examination, do you? Mr. Nardo, what do you think? It's possible that this new evidence might be decisive proof that we were in for. The judge is sure to ask the members of the jury to announce their leanings in a moment. Of course, he's sure to ask you to explain what the crucial piece of evidence is and why. So you must take the opportunity to examine the newly presented evidence as thoroughly as possible. Okay, I guess we can look at it now. Would you look at that? Why would she have a burned book? That is indeed odd. Yes, we do have some new evidence to use. Yeah. Yes, I understand. And thank you, Mr. Sato. This is it. Sato has managed to win us one last chance here. Can't let go to waste. Defense wishes to present evidence, my lord. Very well. Let me present one further piece of evidence. Evidence that apparently offers a profound insight into the case, and it has heretofore been overlooked.
Take that!
The evidence in question is what we can see from the newly presented photograph of the crime scene. In the fourth book, found in the victim's hand.
Objection!
We have already discussed the fourth book at length. Other than being the victim's arrest at the time of the incident, no significance has been attached to it. Assuming the matter further wouldn't be a waste of the crimes as you see. Did I mess up? Oh, fuck. So I must insist that you elaborate, Counsel. You will identify the clue at once. Make myself clear. Okay, I got it. Okay, cool. That's mine. I didn't fuck up. The prosecutor is trying to avoid a thorough examination of this evidence, which means you may very well be on the right track. I'll be right. So, Counsel, Tyson, where is this vital clue to this case? Most conceals.
Got it!
Right, I would ask the court to observe the back of the book in question. The back? What are you? Good gracious! It's been burnt to a crisp. So we have to ask ourselves, why was the victim clutching what is clearly an unreadable book? It is undeniably an extremely unnatural thing for her to have been doing.
Objection!
Natural to say. What of it, my Japanese friend? Where I to concede the point, if it bears no relation to the case, there's nothing to discuss. So, do you wish to assert this fire damage is some veiled clue as to what happened that day? Pray, do enlighten us all. What truth does this charred book hide? Charred book. There's just one possibility there, which I can't quite bring myself to rule out. Which I certainly, but worth a try. Alright, I'll explain my theory. Don't keep us blinking around, Counsel. Find this theory of yours. What are you suggesting that you can ascertain from the fire damage Saratoga suffered? Burning the back of this book reveals a startling truth about the book's owner. Where another book belongs to. It was grabbing at her in her hands that she fell on the floor. After all, obviously hers. The question of how this book came to be in the victim's hand had yet to be answered. However, as to the question of who the book really belongs to, where it originated, the defense has some very credible answers. How can you possibly? Very well. I'll play along with this futile attempt to delay your inevitable demise. But do remember, members of the jury may well burn you if your little gamble to this array. Counsel, the defense response here is very likely to influence the final outcome of this trial. Sales court, who do you claim is the owner of this burnt book?
Take that!
The answer is that book belongs to the couple who owns the house where the defendant has his lodgings. A certain Mr. and Mrs. Garadeb. The landlords, whether this is some extraordinary coincidence or some kind of fate of work, I don't know. But of all people in London, one of the 6 chosen for the jury during this court today, none other than Miss Garadeb herself. It'd be so much easier if you would just drop the pretense. And then, how about a simple question for you? Have you ever seen this book in Mr. Garredeb's house? Never seem to know all the books he keeps, sir.
Objection!
It's outlandish behavior. This woman is the accused landlady, you say? You implicate this hardworking member of the public and besmirch her without a shred of evidence. Your actions are unforgivable. This is not mere conjecture. The defense happens to know. On the day in question, at almost exactly the same time as the victim was stabbed in the pavement below, another incident was taking place in the room on the top floor of Mr. and Mrs. Garredeb's house. Sort of incident, counsel. A fire, my lord. When you say it was, happened in the middle of the night, you see. The whole place was smoke. You could see a ball of thing. Take long for fire to spread, of course. The ball of furniture started going up as well. Worst of it is, I lost my favorite, a book called The Lion's Pride. The Lion's Pride. By Jove, that's the very same title that's the subject of this debate.
Objection!
This is risible. All you've told the court is that a book by the same name was involved in a fire. In which case, it would be reasonable to assume that it was burnt to ash. Entirely unreasonable to infer that it magically removed itself to the scene of the crime. Perhaps it would make more sense if I told you that the cause of the fire was marital discord. Without going into details, it appears that Mrs. Garredeb was considerably enraged. Apparently, she continued to attack Mr. Garredeb even amid the flames. Oh, how awful. I can't even imagine being so horrid to the one you love. Can you, Raleigh? Absolutely not, sir. My Patricia will never raise a finger against me, sir. Had all my fair belongings in the case, but as soon as the fire got hold of them, that was it. Whoosh, up in a plate of smoke. And I started hurling things at me. Back up against the window under heavy enemy fire. Scenario books incoming 10 to the dozen. Is there like... Have burning books thrown at him? Goodness gracious, are you suggesting that a book was thrown through a window and Nina constantly at the scene of the crime?
Objection!
No, thorough investigation of the surrounding area was conducted in the very evening of the incident. There's a report of the Garredeb's window pane being broken. That's quite true. He also saw no sign of broken glass when we visited the Garredeb household. But is it not concealed that the window was open at the time? Not even remotely. Let's not forget the season and the chilling weather that accompanies it. No Londoner would ever leave a window open in the middle of winter. As the defense postulate this scenario in all seriousness possible, do you earnestly claim that the book found in the scene was a flame projectile thrown by Mr. Garredeb's wife? I believe it's a possibility, my lord. Really? Set the whole neighborhood alight. Honestly, I'm not playing that. You're putting on the maple for sake. How could you? All I've done is solid our family's name. No, I assure you, that was never my intention. Dragging the upstanding's name through the mud simply to divert attention from your family defense. To box your ears that from that's what I should do. It's utterly unforgettable. Here, now listen to this Nipponese spouting out his fancy foreign theories. Think about it. At the end of the day, one person who could possibly have stabbed the victim. That little hunchback with the mustache, and he ran away from the scene too. I do declare you're right. Makes sense to me. Sorry? What's that? Well, it would appear that the ladies and gentlemen of the jury are once again in full agreement. What is your position, Lord Von Zeeks? truth, my lord, feel these have been unnecessarily protracted proceedings. But then one must always exercise patience in order to savor the best vintage. No, wait. Mystery of the fourth book still hasn't been... Oh, he brought up the heel. Books are very predilection, my learned friend. Study them on your own time. What? Don't forget the discourses this time? In that case, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will now state your individual decisions regarding the defense culpability for the court.
Guilty!
Guilty.
Guilty! 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 Guilty!
That's twice times over. Mr. Howard, don't give up. Mr. Sato, have you forgotten? That's not over yet. You're not, so yes to. Of course, the defense has the right to another summation examination at this point. How can you still convince the jurors to change their minds? You still have one more chance. Lord, the defense has to exercise the rest to summation examination. You believe you still have a tricks up your sleeve. I don't intend to trick anybody. I intend to uncover the truth. Not to be downcast. As long as there's a chance, I have to stay strong and determined. Oof, there's another part? This trial is fucking long. I consider the defense counsel's request for a further examination of the jury. I have determined that the court must uphold the defense's judicial right to this procedure. So, counsel, you will now receive your second summation examination. I presume the jury is ready, Mr. Foreman. Yeah, my lord. Very good. In that case, I must ask each of you now to state clearly and concisely for the court the grounds on which you find the defendant guilty of the crimes. He was evidence at the scene, didn't he? Those two books of his. There's some novel alternative explanation about there's some sad I might reconsider. Even though when he was storing books, it can't be related to the crime if the window was closed, can it? Even me, it was only a little book, hardly left that, even with a direct hit. I just want to get this over with. If I don't bring home some pay tonight, I'll be in a tiny bit of trouble. Come to think of it, I had a friend at home gave me the sneezes. One noble exception, of course. A learned student friend was unable to find fault in the previous witness testimony. So the court must accept the fact that it was indeed the accused seen fleeing from the scene. Moreover, no one else was even at the scene to commit the crime. The conclusion is somewhat set in stone, but I see how it could be argued any other way. And I'm afraid, during the summation examination, it's essential that you establish some other tangible explanation for the facts. How? What will even constitute a tangible explanation here? All I need to provide, simply give us a name and method by which the attack was conducted. But Mr. Naruto, you have to do it, otherwise it really will be where the trial ends. No pressure then. That's quite enough preamble. Proceed with the summation examination, please. Resume your prepared, counsel. Oh yes, my lord. Right, Yunosuke, focus your mind now. Nearly the key to the summation examination is going to be juror number 4, the maid, or should I say, Mrs. Gerdeb. And the book that disappeared from Gerdeb's house on the evening of the incident, and the fourth book found in the victim's hand. That's what you wait to look at too. Yes, that's what we have to find. And everything I've learned in my short career so far, whatever it takes. Don't forget to keep an eye on Mrs. Gerdeb and how she reacts even to the things other people say. Ah, would you look at that?
Objection!
You? How exactly, counsel? Don't point at me again. I told you it wasn't me. What's that you say? Speak up, lad. Speak up. Jury number 3, do you see? Oh, me? See what, sir? Did you hear jury number 6 account of his birthday celebration last year? It seems, despite being a Londoner, he wants to open his windows in the middle of winter. Well, yes, of course, because it was an emergency. I mean, obviously, if the room was filled with smoke, fire, then you'd be mad not to open the... Oh! Exactly. On the day in question, at the time of the incident, there was a fire in the Gerdeb household, and Mr. Gerdeb had the following to say about it. Whole place filled with smoke.
Oh my! Excuse me!
Juror number 4, do you have anything to say about that? Mr. Gerdeb. Oh dear me, what's the meaning of this? How dare you imply that I'm hiding something? Imperative that you confirm something for the court. So please, it's time to drop the pretense now. When the fire started in your house that day, did you or your husband open the window? What are you insinuating? Your room would have been thick with smoke after the carpet and bookcase caught fire as they did. In a situation like that, it's inconceivable that you wouldn't have opened the window. What if we did? Alright then. Yes, you're right. My husband was frantically trying to open the window, which can't have been easy since I continued to give him a justly deserved book battery. Even though your house is on fire? Well, you never stop throwing until the anger subsides. It would be terribly bad for the nerves to do otherwise. Of course, I should realize it.
Objection!
These seem a connection. Good grief, you mean they don't contradict each other? Spin counsel at once. Number 2, do you think perhaps this could be such novel alternative? Oh my, whatever do you mean? An alternative explanation. That's how the victim was stabbed in the back. What are you talking about? We demonstrated that the 4th book, The Lion's Pride, that was found at the scene of the crime, originated in Mr. Gerdeb's room in the top floor of this house. Therefore, it's equally possible that some other objects besides the book could have found its way from the Gerdeb's house to the street below. And what's that now? After all, Miss Gerdeb could have thrown any number of different objects at the house. Isn't that right, jury number 4? Why are you insinuating, you little beanpole? I'm beginning to think that, ever since that true origins of the book came to light, perhaps she's had a feeling this might be what happened. I just near you, Eastern Gala. As the foreman of the jury, I demand a straight answer. There was this yarn about some other objects making its way out of the house, but what? What was it? It was the fucking knife. But I haven't any real evidence to back it up. I'm certain that at the very least, this warrants further investigation. Alright, Mr. Foreman. I'm trying to explain the defense's theory. The object that found its way from the Gerdeb household to the scene of crime was...
Take that!
Juror number 4, Mrs. Gerdeb. What now? I must apologize in advance for this. I need you to confirm something else for the court. This knife. Have you ever seen this knife before? Lord Castle, what on earth are you doing? That's the weapon that was lost in the victim's back, man. My lord, remember that when the victim was attacked, Mr. and Mrs. Gerda were in the throes of an argument. Mrs. Gerda was hurling anything she could at her husband, who had been backed up against the window, and had been opened to clear the smoke, and through which a book sailed to land at the crime scene. We can't possibly see that that book was found in the victim's grasp. Are you saying that it flew out the window and across the street to land neatly in her hand? Even my missus hasn't got a name like that. Yes, I admit. Now, there are many details that we don't understand yet. But that's the point. That's precisely why. Let's not allow this trial to end. Not right now. Mr. Gerda, your answer, please. Have you seen this light before or not? I wish to change my decision. I won my word, after all. Yes, I agree. I certainly didn't see this coming, but I just don't think it would be right for this trial to come to an end now with so many unanswered questions. I have to agree. Now that I think the granny did it, mind. Yes, you know what? I'm not quite happy about this at the moment either. Altogether then now, ladies and gents. We did it. Oh, congratulations, Mr. Naruto. So as a result of this event's summation examination, a number of jurors' leanings have changed. 2 jurors called guilty against 4 now called innocent. Accordingly, the opinion of the court is divided. The trial will continue. And Lord Van Zees, how does the prosecution wish to proceed? Let's see how angry he gets. This trial is rapidly descending into a farce. Like a court wine, the first few sips are bitter enough. What follows is so repugnant, it's good for nothing save the gutter. Made, Lord Van Zeeks. The defense has just put forward a credible alternative explanation for what happened. Credible? Is that your considered opinion, Mr. Foreman? The defense's argument is a joke to which I barely know how to respond. But let me start by insisting. You must all familiarize yourselves better with the relative positions of those places being discussed. What do you mean by that? What's the saying by this time? And that between the crime scene and the Gerda household runs a rather wide street, Briar Road. Which means that this distance from Gerda's house to the scene is some, 15 yards. Let me see. 15 yards. That's around 14 meters. 14 meters? Oh, that's a little farther than I imagined. As you ladies and gentlemen of the jury are widely noted as having portentous significance, the book was found in the victim's clutch. In other words, a smoldering book, while suddenly hurled by the lady of the house, traveled some 15 yards, standing outside the road, nearly between the collapsed victim's fingers and thumb. Is that your final conclusion, my learned and deluded friend? And did the jackknife fall of near identical trajectory to plunge into the middle of the victim's back? Fantasy is somewhat stretching the notion of having a bad day for the victim, I think. Even those pathetic serialized detective stories have more believable plots. There's something I can say to that. That prosecutor loves the sound of his own voice. Mr. Sato, serialized detective stories are pathetic, are they? How dare he? Maybe let's pick our battles here. My lord, might I be allowed to speak? As judicial assistant, you may speak for the defense, yes. Go ahead. The prosecution may consider the idea of fantasy. Well, the defense has today was believable enough to persuade the jury to change its leaning. And as such, the court has a duty to explore this alternative explanation as thoroughly as possible. To that end, jury number 4, Mrs. Joanne Gerdev must be called to testify and submit to cross-examination. Saints alive! Cross-examination of a juror? Order. Well, this is highly irregular. It's unprecedented for a member of the jury to be summoned to the witness stand.
Objection!
Drinks the bottle again. Holy shit! How many innocent people are dying from this? And unnecessary. Both on Zeke's. There are already witnesses in the stand whose testimony the defense may further cross-examine. Another friend, farcical theory has any truth in it, then both the burning book and the jackknife must have flown through the sky before this couple's eyes. Assume that would be, and we must assume they would be able to testify accordingly. Let's say you witnesses. Constable Raleigh beat reporting for duty, sir. Now, good morning, officer. Sorry for dozing until now, sir. I'm set for a month on account of a villain who appeared on my beat, sir. Oh, there, sorry, look, these London bobbies. Patricia, my darling, I've been neglecting you, but no more. Oh, Raleigh, my hero. You make me swoon. Oh, dear God. Very well. I hereby reject the defense's request. And order the witnesses in the stand to testify again. State forthwith before the court any details pertaining to the defense's alternative explanation of events. Yes, sir. Nothing to do with Mr. and Mrs. Gerdev. Leave me alone, Bobby. It's good for his word. You see, sir, the windows on top floor of Gerdev are top hinged casements. Obviously, if anything had been thrown out the window, we would have seen it. I didn't even seen it go and fetch help, and my trusty Raleigh was there to make sure nothing was disturbed. Take my hand to see you cry for one moment, sir. And a strange report on that front, sir. It was not a police report, Constable. Yes, I'm sorry about that. I must have been a little drowsy. Ahem. You cannot excuse your sins with drowsiness every time, Constable. No, sir. Sorry, but what exactly is the top hinged encasement window? And you cannot excuse your ignorance with such trite remarks, my learned friend. Of course, sorry. Found it, Mr. Naruto. Cast your mind back to the windows in Mr. and Mrs. Gerdev's room. Alright, I'll try. So the window opens in order to allow air to circulate inside the house. There's a top hinged case window. It swings open among the upper edge, you see. I'm glad you've rectified your ignorance. A casement window is the most prominent feature. It's stay, a metal bar which prevents the window from being opened beyond a certain amount. It prevents opening? This is all news to me. Absolutely correct, sir. In other words, if a book or a knife would have been thrown through the open window, it would have clattered against the pane and fallen straight down to the pavement below. See the problem then? Good. Your education in Windows is complete. There was never any possibility of either the book or the knife traveling 15 yards over the road. It is unless the window pane had been shattered, something we discounted already. That can't be. See that, Raleigh? The young Japanese man just collapsed in agony. Oh yes, but I saw it. I saw how you crumbled before me. Oh, Raleigh, you're so strong. Oh, God. How is this happening? I haven't even started the cross-examination yet, and already my argument's been destroyed. Also, you could drag yourself upright again and court awaits your cross-examination. Lord. God, I'm in a desperate situation.
Objection!
Is that it? Clean, Constable B. There was nothing to report. 15 minutes or so you were gone to the scene. That cannot be. I do suppose the rose was soft, right? What do you mean to say? In your testimony just now, Mrs. B, you explained to the court that when you arrived back at the scene of the crime, with the policeman assigned to the beat, okay, you had dropped the victim's side was no longer there. Anyway,
Objection!
here. Yes, on the opposite of the briar field where the victim was attacked. Considering the size of that meager bouquet, if a single bloom could be described, no doubt it was blown in the wind across the street, back in the gutter where it belongs.
Objection!
And if that were the case, why did Constable B not testify to the fact? No one was supposed to scene, and nothing was removed from it. Constable B wrote to that on Scotland Yard's honor. It belonged to me. It has nothing to do with the case. That's why Roy didn't mention it, I'm sure. No, because sadly, it's not only a bouquet we're talking about here. More than one thing in this case is seriously the wrong way around. What are you talking about? Think about it. Inside Mrs. Beats' bouquet is Mr. Gerardev's book. Mr. Gerardev's copy of The Lion's Pride, which was thrown out the window by his wife, would have struck the pane of the casement window and landed here on the west side of the street. And yet, it's actually found here on the opposite side of this road in the victim's hand. Meanwhile, according to testimony we heard, Mrs. Beats' bouquet should have dropped here at the scene of the crime on the east side, but in fact, it was actually found here on the opposite side of the road in front of Mr. and Mrs. Gerardev's house. There's a logical explanation for these things. That somebody deliberately moved them. What are you trying to say? You're talking, it sounds like you think my Roy has done something wrong. That's the word that Squire Lawyer says. Did Roy move the body so he didn't have to investigate it? Or did he was he blackmailed by this woman? You might call it nitpicking, Miss Gerardeb. Deliberately meddling with the scene of the crime is a criminal offense. It's called, tampering, Mr. Naruhodo. But the person responsible for this tampering cannot admit it to it, for a very subtle or compelling reason.
Objection!
Tampering? We've barely heard the term before. Tell us, my learned friend, who would possibly have had cause to carry out such an elaborate deception? Yes, there is someone who tampered with the scene of the crime that evening. All evidence and all testimony points to that one particular person. Counsel, I must demand that you substantiate this conjecture. Who are you saying is responsible for tampering with the scene of the crime? It's Raleigh, no? It can't be anyone else.
Take that!
Obviously, there's only one person it could have been. Constable Raleigh B, it was you. What, a policeman? Remember Scotland Yard? Nonsense, why would Raleigh do something like that? There's no one straighter than my husband. No body works more tirelessly for the people of London. Mrs. B, you said in your testimony that your husband asked you to go to a nearby police box to fetch the officer on duty. He's admitted that you were absent from the scene. It's the only opportunity anyone had to tamper with it. You're making up, it's all nonsense, it's all lies. What about the Japanese man with the whiskers? I bet it was him who did it.
Objection!
If that was true, Constable B would have seen him do it. forgive me for pointing it out, but when you drop your bouquet, Mrs. B, it was after the defendant had fled the scene.
Objection!
First, you're making accusations about the landlord and his wife. Now you're incriminating a policeman as well. But your accusations lack one very important thing. Your claim that the crime scene was tampered with. There's only one reason anyone would commit such a reckless crime: to hide something. That's right, he's right. My husband and I just happened to be there. That's all. So why would we have anything to hide? It doesn't make sense. But no motive for this alleged tampering. Ah, but we so happen to do, Von Zeeks. The very thing that the thing that... Okay, how do I say this? We do have something. We do have a motive. The very constable gave it to us during his testimony. Let's face his entire affair. Have you managed to solve this mystery? Counsel, you have made a very serious accusation against a London police officer. If you're mistaken, I'm sure I need not point out your reputation as a lawyer would irrevocably damaged. As I start warning him lie, you will now explain to the court what the motive for this alleged tampering. Yes, my lord. Constable Beats' motive for tampering with the crime scene was to hide where the victim fell. Where the victim fell to the ground. And that's what the Bobby had covered to cover up at all costs. What? Where the victim fell? You mean where she was attacked? What are you talking about? We told you at the very start, didn't we? On the table of Briar Road, we saw it happen, remember? That's right there, as if anyone didn't already know. That's certainly what everybody has been led to believe. But in fact, that isn't where the victim was stabbed at all. Huh. I'm beginning to wonder where this tumultuous trial will end, Counsel. Me too. That's your assertion, then the court is dying to know, my Nepalese friend. Where are you posing the crime? Actually took place that evening. Well, right below the window of the Bearded's lodging.
Take that!
But that's on the opposite side of the road? I don't understand. On that evening in the question, Miss Garrideb's book fell directly down from the open window above, and you okay, Mrs. B. Never moved at all. What did move was the scene of the crime itself. Good gracious!
Objection!
Perhaps you haven't been listening to the ample testimony the court has heard. But these witnesses both saw the moment the attack took place. That's right, I saw it with my own eyes. It was 5 o'clock in the evening and already dark. There was typical London fog on the ground. When you saw the incident unfold and ran to the victim's aid, now it's actually on the west side of the Briar Road. No, that's not true. It can't have been. Constable B then arranged for you to be absent for a while by sending you for help. And during the 15 minutes you were away, he translated the crime scene. He moved all things shown in the print, the victim herself, and the 4 books. He moved everything in fact to the pavement on the east side of the Briar Road. Extraordinary. But the constable overlooked one thing. What did he overlook? Okay, I presume. Exactly. Prosecution told the court just a few minutes ago about the discovery of the rose bouquet. Lord Von Zeek said it wasn't noticed until the morning, as it lay where the streetlights cast no light. Yes, it couldn't be seen in the dark, obviously, which is why it was only the bouquet, and that was found in the original position on the pavement on the west side of the Briar Road. And that is the defense's theory about what really happened that evening. How do you respond? Constable Rowley Beat. Well, I'm very sorry. I didn't mean to nod off again, but I haven't slept properly in a month. Did I miss anything important? Oh, he's feigning ignorance. Isn't true, is it? Laura says it's all lies, isn't it? I know it is, because you're the most upstanding, righteous man I know. I had a dream. A terrible dream. All the things I did that night. Everything come out. Everything exposed. Only it seems it wasn't a dream at all. Good golly. What on earth is the meaning of all this? I mean, why would you do something like this? Moving a corpse is a criminal offense, isn't it? Wishing the victim dead should be one, too. Possible. Explain yourself. Why would you do this? As a respectable member of Scotland Yard, your duty is to protect the good people of London Town. I can't say, sir. I really am ever so sorry about all this. For damaging the Yard's reputation. For everything. I have a possible explanation. For why, on that particular evening, Constable B felt compelled to the scene of the crime. I can think of one reason. What? How could you possibly know? You, a foreigner, presuming to understand the mind of Scotland Yard policeman. And yet, Lord Van Zeeks is this foreigner who has uncovered the startling truth of the matter thus far. And I believe it would be beneficial to the court to hear this extraordinary young lord's theory. Counsel for the defense, if you please. Yes, my lord. Now then, you better show us some evidence. At once, my lord. England, Japan, makes no difference where you come from. Human emotions are the same. I think I have a fairly good idea of the feelings behind this man's actions. What gives away the motive for Constable Beat's unthinkable action?
Take that!
I realize I'm a foreigner in this land, and I've only just arrived from Japan, which is why all this information about London's so-called Bobby is completely new to me. I've learned that, though honorable, patrolling the beat is the most demanding work in the world, for example. Keeping the peace, looking after the citizens on this beat in all kinds of ways. There's no doubt that the young Bobby is discharged with a great deal to do each day, certainly. For a Constable Beat, the day in question was special. Special? How? On account of this big bouquet, my lord. Oh yes, it was our very first wedding anniversary. Constable B had worked so hard to be able to afford a simple gift for his wife. Was so looking forward to taking her out for the celebratory meal. When he and Mrs. B stumbled upon a crime along Briar Road. When he saw that shadowy figure through the fog, collapsed on the pavement ahead of them, it must have gone through the man's mind. Besides, just on one particular day, I was looking forward to celebrating my wedding anniversary. Mrs. B puts up with a lot being married to a body like me. I wanted to show my dear wife how much I care. This is the warrant card that Constable Beat offered to lend me earlier. Inside among the rules for patrolling policemen, it says, when a crime is discovered on his beat, policemen must assist with the initial investigations and help detectives. Constable Beat, is that or is that not the reason why you moved the whole scene of the crime that day? Everything has fallen into place. Yes. Everything you said. It's alright. So that's it. It has all to do with the boundary of your beat. Exactly. Summarize. The incident actually occurred in Constable Beat's beat. Good gracious. Constable, do you realize the gravity of what you've done? It was the first time since I became a copper that I ever cursed God. Stay close to me, Pat. Criminals should be lurking somewhere. As we ran over to the scene, I had every intention of doing my duty as a police officer. I've got to report this to the station as quickly as possible. But then it dawned on me. It's where we were, where the victim was lying, and what that meant for me. When a crime is discovered on his beat, policemen must assist with initial investigations of detectives. Why here? Why did it have to happen here? Why tonight, of all nights? Why? Shit, bro. The copper job to guard the scene of the crime, so I told Pat she had to go to the nearest police box and fetch whoever was on duty there. It was then I opened my mouth to speak. It just came out. I couldn't believe the words that were coming out of my mouth. It's the next beat to my Pat. So you have to go to the police box that covers it. Turn right along Meerschaum Street and then... At least he was honorable enough to admit his guilt and crime. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Oh, Constable. I just wanted just that one night to take my Patricia out for dinner. Oh, Raleigh. Just that one night. Knew that if the incident was on your beat, the evening of celebration would be ruined. So you decided to move the entire crime scene outside your jurisdiction, just across the street, to the east pavement of Bryan Road, which falls under the neighboring beach care. You see, I thought, well, I assured the victim was dead, you see. I begged your pardon? Well, of course you did. Otherwise, Mariah would have never left the poor woman on the freezing cold pavement. Ah, I see your meaning now. But God got me back for my sins, didn't he? That's why I missed the rose I bought for Pat. Should never have dropped in such a dark place. So sorry, Raleigh. And can you tell us, Constable, how many books did you move from one side to the other, to the road, one side of the road to the other in total? Oh, 4 it was. Yes, definitely, 4. 3 of them dropped by Mr. Natsume, and the 4th, you know, one that fell from the window upstairs in the Geradev household, of course. But what made you place that book in the victim's hand? And all the others were scattered haphazardly around, I mean. Well, son, that's because that's how I found it. How you found it? What do you mean? When you first ran over to the scene, the victim was already holding the book. So, when I moved everything, I made sure it was still in her hand. I'm sure it was this book, The Lion's Pride, that victim was holding? Oh yes, no doubt about it. Interesting. But there was an opening in the shut case at the time, you see. There was only the 2 people at the scene. Pat and me both saw it happen. However, which way you looked at it, it had to be the fellow who ran off who'd done it, I thought. I couldn't see the harm, really. I didn't think moving it all over the road would make a jot of a difference. So this is it for me now. I've had it. My lord. Yes, Lord Van Zeeks. I believe that concludes the cross-examination of the witnesses. Constable, you may withdraw. Yes, sir. Mr. Prosecutor, sir. What will become of my Raleigh? What will happen to him? For now, you're free to go home. Police will contact you in due course. Please, don't punish my husband. This is all my fault. It's because I'm always mourning at him for coming home late. Leave it now, Pat. Let's go home. I'm tired. Alright then, my love. One last thing, Constable. So, Let this be a lesson to you. In a criminal investigation, every detail matters, however insignificant it may seem to you. Yes, sir. Carve that lesson in your mind. And never again make the mistake of tampering with the scene of the crime. Never again, sir? You mean to say... Leave. Now. This trial is not over yet. So Von Zieks does have a little compassion. Sir. Oh, quite a strong revelation, I must say. Never thought of third parties tampering the entire scene of a crime like that. Indeed, my lord. Nevertheless, there are some immutable facts here, principally. The accused, Mr. Soseki, assuming is the only person who could possibly commit the crime.
Objection!
No, I disagree. Now that we know the true scene of the incident, it is someone else. The person who could be responsible for the knife in the victim's back. Even for being presumptuous, I believe the prosecution is probably well aware of this possibility already. Well, Zeke, is this true? Very well. Name the person if you will, if further investigation is warranted. The prosecution has no objections to the trial continuing. You name this other person who could have been perpetuated the crime.
Take that!
The defense would once again like to request the cross-examination of a new witness, my lord. Once again, my assistant made the same request earlier, in order to finally reveal the truth about this case. It's imperative that we cross-examine juror number 4, Mrs. Joanne Gerdeb.
Objection!
That request has already been denied.
Objection!
The situation is very different now. Mrs. Gerdeb, answer me this. At the time of the incident, you were engaged in a violent argument with your husband, Mr. John Gerdeb. Of course, the argument, a minor house fire was ignited. You take the smoke from the room, your husband opened the window that looks over Briar Road. Now what of it? He threw his book at your husband when he was cornered from his back against the window. While striking the pane of the open top hinge casement in the window, the book plummeted directly down. Finding its way to what we now know to be the true scene of the crime. Yes, and I said, what of it? During the argument, you were beside yourself with rage. As such, you threw not just books, but anything you could lay your hands on. So let me ask one more thing, Mrs. Gerdeb. This knife, the one removed from the victim's back. Have you really never laid eyes on it before? I don't recall it. Seriously? Am I supposed to remember everything I picked up and threw at my husband? And anyway, the man over there is all that regalia said members of the jury needed to testify, didn't he? Conveniently, yes.
Objection!
No, I have no recollection of saying that at all, juror number 4. Make no mistake, your jurors are not special in any way. You're not immune to a judicial process. If you know something about this knife, madame, let the truth come out. Trouble like that at home. If one went missing, how would you expect me to know? What's that? Are you joking? What are you saying? Please, Mrs. Gerdeb. Now you listen to me. I refuse to believe all this nonsense. I couldn't bear the thought that I'd injured someone. Do you hear? I couldn't bear it. Oh, the poor woman. So, yes, I want evidence. I want to see hard evidence if you're going to insist of this being my fault. You're going to have to prove to me that I threw a knife if that's what you think. Come on now, chop chop, do your worst. Well, Mr. Nardo, if I had evidence like this, believe me, I would have thrown it at her already. And take the stand, juror. prosecution does not object to the defense's request to cross-examine the woman. Thank you, Lord Von Zeeks. Going to have to testify? Juror number 4. As I'm sure you will appreciate having observed it with your own eyes today. Witness testimony can lead to the most extraordinary truths being unearthed. Truths of which the witnesses themselves may not even have been aware. Oh, dear me. So I demand your full, unadulterated testimony, Mrs. Garrett. And mark my words, in this court of law today, we shall extract the truth. Do you concur, counsels? Certainly, my lord. Oh, that's what I'm hoping for, my lord. Fuck, this is a long trial. Such a strange feeling. For the first time since remaining in this country, this actually feels real. I'm here, in the Old Bailey. I'm a lawyer. Witness, say your name and occupation. Oh, yes, my name is Joanne Garrett. And I'm, well, I'm a juror and such like. Sounds like even she doesn't know if she's a housewife or maid or what anymore. However, aside, your testimony is required in order to clarify matters in this case. Do you understand, madame? Yes, my lord. I'm going to tell the court everything that took place in your household that evening. No question. And I warn you, do not attempt to hide the truth. Oh, dearie me. Chin up, Joanne. Nothing to worry about now. Oh, I didn't know you were here, John. Wasn't only you in the room that day, old thing, was it? That I ought to testify as well, don't you? Oh, what you need, dear? Don't you worry about that. Hardly notice it. You know, sort of have to leave a comrade to face this disciplinary action alone. Oh, John. Yes, sir, you're Mr. John Garrett? Yes, sir. Former second lieutenant of the 3rd Regiment of the 4th Northumberland Frizzlers, sir. What the fuck? See my fair share of action, and now live in the quiet life, as it were. Quiet life? Were you not engaged in an incendiary battle with your spouse on the question? Yes, quite. This may represent the first in the proud history of the British court. Contrary to the witness stand is unprecedented. However, court will hear your testimony on juror number 4, and that of your husband. You will recount clearly and precisely the events in your home at the time of the incident question. Yes, I'm in it. On the day you're referring to, the wife I did have a skirmish with. Can't recall the reason now. I was a candlestick open and set fire to the carpet. Soon I had it put out, through, though, and got the window open. Meanwhile, I was picking up whatever I could find to throw at him. Plenty of knives around our place. Can't say I noticed if 1 or 2 are missing, I'm afraid. If that bally thing was really one of ours, you'll have a job proving it, I think. Sounds as though it was quite the battlefield in your household that evening. Although, entirely one-sided assault, it seems. And they caught us on top, sir. Had no choice but to dig in and take defensive measures. To be honest, if they had kept shelling us for another minute, we'd probably been toast. Of course, a veteran such as myself, so I'm too aware of that on every battlefield, you're just a gnat's whisker from death at any moment. Are we still talking about a martial quarrel here? I must say, I'm dubious that this testimony will shed any light on the origin of this jackknife. Comment one's focus narrows such that surroundings are barely noticed. These witnesses may not be able to offer anything more than what they have already testified already. It's maybe a dead end. This may well be right. What are the chances? You only have this last cross-examination to uncover the truth, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, I'm afraid so. Very well, Counselor.
Objection!
Mr. Garrett, could I ask you to take a look at this, please? I can ask, but I can't really see a bally thing. Can't? Used to call me a dead-eyed dad back in the regiment, of course, but that was some time ago. Even when I was trying to enjoy a large pint book by the fire these days, I struggle to tell B from a D and P from a Q, to be honest. It must be very dusty. What is that? A tiny scrap of metal? Yes, almost certainly from the tip of a blade. And what may appear at first just be a tiny scrap is in fact a crucial piece of evidence. Interesting. Where did that under defense come by this evidence? It was lost in the chamber of Mr. Garridev's pipe. A pipe, you say? By Jove, I wonder how it got there. Precisely does this fragment of metal signify, Counsel? You're suggesting that it's some way related to the matter of the stabbing on Briar Road? Indeed it is, Judge. I am. What? Put together with another piece of evidence already in the court record, I believe this tiny fragment of metal will unravel the whole truth of this case, my lord. You appear rather confident in their extraordinary statement, Counsel. Very well then, send this pertinent evidence to the court. My evidence, when paired with this fragment, piece of metal allegedly reveals the truth of the entire case. This blade.
Take that!
This is the knife that was found in the victim's back. If you look closely, you will see that there's a small piece of the tip of the blade that's missing. Common issue with inferior blades sold at unsavory street markets. Criminals who use them regularly leave the tips lodged at the victim's bones. And what of this particular knife? Alas, the tip has suffered a similar fate, now languishing somewhere near the spine of the victim.
Objection!
No, that's not the case. The tip of this particular knife's blade is a very fragment of metal we discovered in the chamber of Mr. Garridev's pipe. Good grief, Lord Von Zeeks. Don't believe it. Knife from the crime scene, and this fragment of metal are a perfect match. Is this some sort of Eastern sorcery? This is no magic, my lord. This is a miracle. A miracle? So Zeeks has figured it out, has he? Counsel, explain this extraordinary coincidence at once. Yes, my lord. The crucial point we have asked ourselves here is when did the fragment of metal find its way inside Mr. Garridev's pipe? Something that was clarified for us in the most recent witness testimony. I had this thing in my hand usually at the time of the onslaught. I have to clean out with one of her soft projectiles. She did, yes. Never had been sent flying unless it was hit by something pretty solid. Oh, dearie me. During the argument between these two that had occurred just as the victim was at the pavement below, Mrs. Garridev flung this knife at her husband. However, knife missed Mr. Garridev instead of striking the pike in his hand at the time, which caused the tip to break off, of course. Yes, and that is when the tiny tip of the blade found its way inside Mr. Garridev's pipe. And yet, there's no other credible explanation for how the tip of the blade ended up in your pike. And then, after losing its tip, the knife ricocheted off the pipe and flew out the open window. In short, this knife, which fell from the window of Garridev's house, is the very same knife that struck the victim in the middle of the back on the street below.
Objection!
What you got for us, Von Zeeks? Full body theory. I'll give you that. Complex bouquet of seemingly trivial points, possibly arranged to create an almost passable vintage. Allowing to toast my learned friend's characteristically Neo-Japanese approach to balling his argument. Sorry? But after all, it's just a theory. The bottle I fear is corked. Because you see, it's spoiled by an insurmountable inconsistency. Insurmountable? And what would that be? What is this inconsistency you claim to have identified? An inconsistency of the simple nature, my lord. The victim was found with the knife planted in the middle of her back. Yes, in her... Ah! That's right, you silly little man. Now, John, one thing, what are you getting so excited about? Let's see the basic facts of the case once more. The victim was walking among the pavement before being stabbed in the back onto the ground. The knife was struck from above. There's no possible way it could have planted itself in the victim's back. There's an explanation. If I had to guess, the victim bent down to pick up the flaming book, and then subsequently afterwards, the knife fell into her back. History. Nope. We still have a chance. We still have a chance. It's the goddamn book. It's the fucking book. Assuming to eliminate that one inconsistency, the theory will stand. You mustn't worry, Mr. Naruhodo. They were just caught off guard, that's all. Your mind won't blame. If the path you were on is indeed grabbed, then the way will present itself. Key is in the court record, I'm sure. All the information you need is there. It seems you have nothing to say, Nipponese friend. Well, your silence speaks volumes. And tacit acceptance that your theory is blatantly flawed.
Objection!
This inconsistency doesn't mean I was in the wrong track. It means that I meant to sharpen my mind and dig deeper for the truth. It's a test. Yes. When I found the victim from above, there's no way that I could hit her in the middle of the back. Under normal circumstances, that is. What are you implying? Counsel? There's a piece of evidence in the court record that can explain this inconsistency. I can explain how the victim that fell from above could have pierced the victim's back. We have already answered. Utter madness. Surely this must be the last time. Counsel, present the evidence of which you speak. This is the last inconsistency. Final piece of the puzzle. I can successfully make sense of this. To be laid bare at last. The reason that explains the falling of the knife becoming lodged in the victim's back is the book, no?
Take that!
This, the fourth book found at the scene. This is the final piece of evidence the defense will present. Yes, and to understand its significance, you have to consider how it came to be at the scene in the first place. But graphic print clearly shows the book in question. Victim holding it in her right hand. But as we all know, it was a police constable that put the book between her fingers like that. Why so? As part of this wholesale transferring of the crime scene at the opposite side of the road. That's true, however, as part of this testimony, the constable made an extremely enlightening statement on that point. But what made you place that book in the victim's hand? Oh well, so that's because that's how I found it. When we first went over to the scene, the victim was already holding the book. So when I moved everything, I made sure it was still in her hand. In other words, the victim had already picked up the book of her own volition. And clearly, that must have been before she suffered the knife wound. I should say so. As being attacked with a knife, I don't imagine she'd have done much of anything. So the question becomes, why did the victim have the book in her hand? By Chingo. I think I'm beginning to see what may have happened. We know that the book fell from the top floor of the Gyardeb household from pavement below, at precisely the moment the victim was walking past. Yes, exactly that moment, the young woman was walking along the street in the night fog. All of a sudden, the book fell right in front of her. The book I threw. Yes, Mrs. Gyardeb. What do you think the woman did? What would you do if you were walking along and suddenly a book landed in front of you on the pavement? Well, I really can't imagine it. But I suppose she may have reached down and picked the book up. Yes, that is exactly what the woman in fact did. She picked up the book. And when the woman reached down to pick up the fallen book, what position would her back have been in? That's right, facing the sky, completely and utterly defenseless. And in the very next moment, whilst the woman was still bent over picking up the book, the next object fell from the room above and the jackknife straight into the middle of her back. And at that same moment, walking by chance directly behind the screen, was the defendant, Mr. Sosuke Natsume. It appeared to me to assume to Mr. Natsume that the woman simply collapsed onto the floor, and dark and fog. She didn't see the knife fall on her from above. And from the other direction, the constable and his wife saw no one but the victim and her apparent attacker. So there was a real culprit to run from the scene in the first place. No, there's nothing more than stories of unlikely events that culminate in an unfortunate accident. And that is the real truth behind this case. Well, Mr. and Mrs. Gyardeb, the very first time you showed me that knife, I had my suspicions. I wonder if perhaps it might have been something like that. There, old bean. Poor Mrs. Gyardeb. Of course, never meant for anything of the sort to happen, but it was all my fault, wasn't it? I take full responsibility. I let my anger get the better of me. I threw that book, and I threw that knife as well. John dear, it's alright. I know. I'm ever so sorry. Truly. Is it breakdown? It's barely struggling to stay up. Sakes, what news of Miss Gyardeb? She's been taken to the infirmary. It appears that today's events have left her in an exceptionally flustered state. However, at least she will recover in due course. There's no cause for concern. Yes, unbeknownst to themselves, the cause would have easily been a terrible tragedy. They should have to prepare themselves for the consequences of their actions. There's some good news, however. My lord, I've just heard word from the hospital where the victim is being treated. Her condition is improving steadily, and the doctor believes she will regain consciousness soon. It's strange. We've been talking about the victim all this time, but we've never once met her. How wonderful. The woman is out of danger, it seems. Yes, that is the good news. So, Mr. Soseki Natsume. Yes. On behalf of my fellow countrymen, I would like to take this opportunity to beg your pardon, sir. You came from your distinct eastern homeland to study our great British culture, and have been repaid with immeasurable unkindness. Please accept our heartfelt apologies. No, it is me who should be begging your pardon. Oh no, Mr. Natsume. That evening, even when the young woman had just collapsed on the pavement before my eyes, I jumped to the wrong conclusion again, in my confusion. Conclusion, sir. I was sure the woman was dead. Yes, Constable Pete said the same thing, didn't he? Thought she had been killed too. I suppose she must have looked completely lifeless. It's been about a year since I arrived in Great Britain now, but I still can't get used to life here. I can't relax. I'm sure there are evil spirits lurking in the fog. Or they're haunting me. Poor Sosuke-san. His imagination really has got the better of him. Oh, I'm glad to know. Yes, poor man. That's when it happened. And the young woman had been taken by the fog spirit. I should have never dropped my books like that and ran away. I should have called for help, for a doctor, for the police. Instead, I've managed to create a rift in the relationship of trust between our two empires. And for that, I am truly sorry. I could indeed say that some sort of mischievous spirit has been at work here, I think. I want to create a chain of unfortunate mishaps. We were fooled by the spirit and led to false conclusions. But thanks to Lord Van Seeks and our young lord here from the east, my chain has now been broken and that spirit exorcised. I really commend you both. Now then, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Yes, my lord. Concluding this trial, I must ask one last time for your decisions regarding the defense culpability. Are you ready to present your findings to the court? As foreman of this jury, I can assure we've reached a fair and just conclusion. I do declare the truth can be extremely cruel at times. Well, I didn't suspect the woman next to me, that's for sure. Sin for the old being while she's out of action, you know, but I know what her decision would be. Does this mean I'll finally be able to get out of here and start work? Well, it's about time. I say, I have a cork or a story to tell the grandchildren when I get home, won't I? Well, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I hereby demand your final decisions. Mr. Foreman?
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
It's finally done. Very well, Mr. Soseki Natsume, I hereby pronounce you not guilty. And finally, Mr. Natsume. Oh yes, Lord Sir. You're now free man once more. I hope that you continue to further your education in British culture, and may you never again be brought before me. Oh yes, sir, of course. All my life, I swear I'll never set foot in a courtroom again. I'm transported to tears. Thank you, counsels. Court is adjourned. And with that, the case finally comes to a close.